Hey guys, it's Cassie here. I am a Canadian living in Australia right now, and today's video is going to be about weird things that are strange to me as a Canadian but totally normal for Australians living here. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am in no ways making fun of Australia. I love Australia, it's amazing. I think the best part about moving to a different country is that you discover different ways people do things or different quirks that you would never see back at home, and it's so fun to see it, and I'm sure Australians would feel the same way if they came to Canada as well. So if you're Australian, please don't be offended. Just to preface this, I am also living in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, so some of these quirks might be like a Queensland thing. I'm not sure because I haven't lived in any of the other states. Okay, so number one, BYO alcohol. So if you go to certain restaurants, especially in like the nightlife area, you can actually bring your own alcohol into the store, and typically restaurants that offer this option, they'll have a little sign at the front that just says BYO alcohol, and for a $5 corking fee, you can basically just bring any liquor you buy at the liquor store straight into the restaurant. You can drink your wine or drink your beer or drink your soju, whatever the hell you please, in the restaurant, and they will provide you with the glasses, cups, stuff like that, and you just pay a little $5 fee. So I think that's amazing because it's kind of like a win-win situation, and it's just a nice way for you to have your dinner without having to, you know, buy their drinks and stuff. So you can actually pre-drink at restaurants here, which is pretty sweet. Number two, now this one is gonna be very weird, and you guys are probably wondering why would you even notice this, but their standard paper size is not a letter paper size. Now, a letter paper size typically looks like this, but they actually use A4, which is longer, taller, but a little bit thinner than our standard letter size that we use in America. And I actually have a really funny story about this because the first time I actually came to Australia, I was looking for a job, and when I was designing my resume, I designed everything for a letter size piece of paper. And I had finished everything. I went to the library, I printed out copies, and much to my surprise, when it came out of the printer, I had all this like white space at the top and the bottom, and it's because their standard paper size is A4 and not letter size. So if you're coming here, you're designing your resume, make sure you design it for the right artboard size because it's A4, don't pick the wrong one. And I just thought that was so funny because I just never really thought of anything other than letter size. Yeah, I actually prefer A4 because A4 gives you a lot more vertical height, so I feel like you can actually fit more content on it without having to use more sheets of paper. Plus, it was good for my resume because I could add more stuff in there without making it look completely cramped. Okay, number three is the pay. So I always knew that Australia pays really well in terms of their minimum wage, but this shocked me even more this time coming around is getting more into the details about just how much they pay, plus you get paid more on the weekends. So I searched up the minimum wage. Right now it's $20.33 per hour, but if you're working as a casual employee, so they have full-time, part-time, and then casual. So a casual employee means you aren't given really any set times in the week, and you kind of are very ad hoc of an employee. But because you aren't promised these specified hours, you get compensated more. So the standard kind of rate for retail is about $27 per hour, which is amazing. If you actually work on a Saturday, you get time and a half. And then if you work on Sunday, you get double time, which is just unheard of back in America. And it's funny because I've actually talked to quite a few Australian people, and when I tell them, wow, it's so great that you get paid more if you work Saturdays and then even more if you get paid Sundays, they're like, yeah, that's like to be expected. Like, why else would you work on a Sunday, or why else would you work on a weekend? And I thought that was such a funny thing for them to say, because I'm like, well, in Canada or in the States, you work on the weekends because you just need the money, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get extra compensation for, oh, you're working a Saturday. Like, that's really funny to me. But I think it's really great that they do this, because I feel like they definitely value their work-life balance here a lot more, especially in Queensland. I don't know about the other states, but Queensland is such a chill state, and they really value just not working all the time, and that you have enough time off to spend with your family, or to, you know, go to the beach and enjoy your weekend that's away from the computer and away from, you know, just this work mentality. On top of that, if you work, of course, public holidays, if you work overtime, if you have late night shifts, like if you work past closing time. So for example, if the mall typically closes at 5 o'clock and you work till 8 p.m, then you actually get paid a late night shift. So anytime after 5 o'clock, you also get compensated a lot more as well. So it just makes doing all these extra things so much more enjoyable. Like, I don't even mind staying late after work. I don't even mind working on Sundays. I don't mind working on Saturdays, because you know that you're being compensated for it, and it's just more worth it to work those days. I wish everywhere in the world did this, because that way everyone would be happier. Number 4, this one might be a little bit of a weird one, and it's probably just specific to where I'm living right now. But the transit system here, they have their own infrastructure. So they have their own bridges, they have their own tunnels, they have their own special roads that they use. I just think that makes so much sense, because that way the bus drivers have a much easier time doing their job. It's much more efficient, it's better for the driver, it's more fuel efficient, it's also better for, of course, the people who are trying to get to places, because that way they don't have to be stuck in traffic or wait in these crazy long lines. I didn't even realize that until one day I was taking the bus and I was going in this tunnel, and I noticed, hey, why is there only buses in this tunnel? It was like one bus after another, and we were on a highway kind of thing, and it was just a whole bunch of buses. And then it just made sense. I was like, oh, they have their own infrastructure here just for transit, and I think that's amazing. They should implement this everywhere as well. Australia, you're really doing something right. Now, number 5. First time I went to a store, I said thank you to someone. Instead of saying you're welcome or oh yeah, no worries, they're like, you're okay. And I was like, I'm okay? What do they mean by I'm okay? Like, did I do something? Why am I just okay? And for some reason, in my head, it didn't fully click to me. It kind of just sounded like they were telling me that I'm okay. This is a very weird one. This is probably just a me thing that happened. But yeah, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, huh. And I haven't only heard this once. Like, I've heard this quite a few times. And every time I'm always kind of like, oh, they're just basically meaning it in the same way as saying, oh, you're welcome or no problem. But instead they say, you're okay. Typically, I would think you would only say you're okay if like you accidentally trip and then you bump into someone. You'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and they'd be like, oh, you're okay. Like, that's kind of when I would think you would use you're okay, not really in the scenario where you're like, oh, I'd like to buy this, or where's the washroom, and you ask them a question and then you say thank you and they're like, oh, you're okay. I'm like, what? Anyways, that one's a weird one. I don't know if other people who have visited Australia have kind of had the same reaction to this, but that was just kind of something that popped into my head. And number 6, most stores here, both online and in-store, offer Afterpay and click and collect. That's what it is. So with Afterpay, you can actually purchase items and then pay back in installments. And a lot of online stores have this option. A lot of even in-stores have this option too. Australia is just super advanced in terms of tech, because I haven't really seen this back at home. Like, there is no option to pay your you know, clothing purchase in 4-month installments. Like, I just haven't really seen that. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, because maybe you end up buying things you can't afford or that you shouldn't be buying. But I think it's nice that there is that option, and it is interesting and it's pretty cool. The other thing is that they offer click and collect at a lot of different stores and locations. I don't know if this was born through the whole pandemic thing, so people were instead buying things online really quickly and then they would just pick it up in stores so that they were in and out really quickly without having to actually have that many people in one store. But I think it's a brilliant idea and it makes life so much easier. I've done it a few times and you just pay online and you just pick it up in store. It's so easy. Number 7, this one's a really fun one. So back home in Vancouver, we have these people called nammers, and they typically kind of dress like this. They look like this. They're kind of described as like gangsters, like wannabe Asian gangsters who wear like North Face jackets, True Religion jeans. They like smoke, they do like the whole nammer squat, and they're just like bad boys that are cool, that you would be like, whoa, like they're kind of gangster. They have a similar version of that here, but instead of calling them nammers, they call them eshays. I was like, eshays? What does that even mean? Eshays? And then I searched up what eshays are, and they're kind of equivalent to our nammers, except their eshays kind of dress like this, where they typically have like some sort of runners on, but then they also wear all those like brand name clothes with like a baseball cap, and then wearing like a merce type of deal, and they look super gangstery. Originally originated, that sounds weird, in Sydney. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from, and I think I've seen a few eshays during my time here because I was at like some sort of a garden once, and there was a huge group of guys and girls, and granted, we're at this beautiful garden and they're all dressed in black, all wearing North Face brand name clothes and baseball caps, and they all just looked exactly the same, and they looked like those like Asian gangsters I would see back at home. And I was like, wow, okay, that is a group of eshays right there. I have finally found them. So I just thought it was really funny that they have them here too, but they just call it something else. And number 8, this is the last one I can think of right now. If I pick up more interesting things, I will probably make another video about it because I think these are so fun. So number 8 is that Australians, they don't really say 0 when they're saying a phone number out to you. They use O instead. So for example, if my number is 270-5500, they don't say it like that. They said 270-5700. So they don't use 0 and they use O's, and that is just something that I've picked up because right now I work at a clothing store and I will usually have to ask them for their phone number to look up their account. I've just noticed they just say O instead of 0. And another really funny thing they do is that when there are double digits or triple digits in their phone number, they don't say 220-555, for example, right? They say 220-555. So they will say either double or they will say triple, and they will not say the numbers individually. So when I'm like typing out these names, they're like 333 for that, I'm like mentally trying to think. I'm like, oh right, okay, so they mean 333 or 22. Yeah, so that's just something really funny I've noticed. Like every single person who has been saying their phone number to me, they say it like that, and I just thought that's such a unique thing because back home I don't really hear it used like that very often. It's funny, but it's very useful, you know? Like it's like, let me not waste your time spelling out all these numbers, let me just give it to you straight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below which one you think is the most funny and the most interesting to you, and yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.